Hello, welcome to the 8th active movement session from Connections Neuro-Disability Services and Paces Sheffield. I'm Jules McDonald, and today we're going to be doing some more advanced movements in a seated position for your legs, for your lower limbs. So other weeks we've done more basic moves with your legs, so this week we're making it a little more complicated, sort of moderate level of activities. Verging on a little bit tricky at times, but hopefully you'll enjoy it. So these active movement sessions are for anyone with a neurological movement disorder. So someone who has cerebral palsy, a head injury, has had a stroke, MS, things like that. That's really suitable for people like that. And anyone with any level of movement can join in with these movement sessions. The important thing is finding the one that's right for you. So we've got loads of them out there now, all different levels, all different positions. So have a little look through, they're all on our website, and just find what works for you. So this one, you do need a relative degree of control of your legs for this one, but you don't actually need to have any independent sitting balance. If you're able to work in a wheelchair and that helps support you and you can still move your feet around, then that's absolutely fine. So just give it a go. If this feels too hard for you, go back and find the lower level one, or go and find one that works on the floor, or just have a little look around really and see where you get with it. So just a couple of things. When we do these sessions, they come with a kind of disclaimer at the end of the day. We want you to be safe and careful when doing them. So please make sure that when you're doing them safely. If you're doing them on your own, that you're safe and there's someone around, just in case you push a little far and what have you. Similarly, do just check with a medical practitioner that doing an active movement sort of session is suitable for your physical health. We don't want you to hurt yourself or get in any trouble at all. But hopefully it's all good and you can join in and get loads from it. And like I say, just mix it up, use different ones every time and hopefully challenge yourself a little bit as well. If you haven't watched any of the sessions before, there's a couple of things to note is that when I do a demonstration, I'm not actually using my right leg. I'm going to use my left leg to demonstrate my right. So I provide a mirror image for you on the screen so you can copy me like a mirror. And secondly is that I talk about what I'm doing whilst I'm doing it. So we say the movements as we're moving, and that's part of a tool that I use in my practice as a conductor who practices conductive education the rest of the time. And that's a way of kind of linking what your body's doing with what your brain's doing and you're telling your body how to move. So I really encourage you to join in and say those things along with me as you're doing it, because it will help your body understand how to move and when to move. So you might feel a bit silly, but I'm doing it, so don't worry about it. Maybe I look silly, I don't mind. Really, in terms of equipment this week, we don't need a great deal. If you've got independent sitting balance, you can sit on a dining room chair, a therapy bench, a perching stool. If you really want to challenge yourself, you could sit on a yoga ball, but be very careful if you are, because they are going to be quite tricky moves. If you need a wheelchair for seated, and that's absolutely fine, make sure you've got a hip strap on just to keep you secure if you need it to keep your sitting balance and keep your hips back. But maybe release a pommel, undo any foot straps, and make sure your feet are nice and free. Similarly, we are doing quite a lot of work on the ankles and sort of the foot in general today. So when you're moving, I would recommend doing these tasks without any shoes on. If you need socks for comfort, you can do, but if it'd be a bit more slippy. So ideally barefoot, but if you absolutely have to have supportive footwear on, that is fine. You can work with it. You just might have to miss out a couple of the activities. But that's pretty much it. The only bit of equipment that we need today is I've got this. It's essentially a roll. So I don't know if you've got a rolling pin, a water bottle, a canister of deodorant or shaving foam. I've just chopped up, a pool noodle that children use in the swimming pool and made a shorter one. Essentially, it's got to be able to roll on the floor forward and backwards. So that's what we've got that for. But that's the only bit of equipment other than something to sit on and your own potty that we need. So if we're ready to begin, let's get going. So you'll have heard this before now if you've done any of the other sessions, but what's really important is that we start in a good position. So a good seated position, whether you're in your wheelchair, on a perching stool, what have you, what we want to look for is, first of all, feet in line with your hips. So this is my hip width, but yours may be a little wider, maybe a little more narrow. Keeping your knees in line with your hips and keeping your feet in line with your hips. And as you'll see, not letting your feet turn out, not letting them turn in, keeping those feet nice and straight forward. Keeping your hands on your knees to start with if you're able to. If you have tight arms or spasticity perhaps in your arms and you keep them bent, pull them a little lower, let them sit as low as they can, try and relax that out. Similarly, if you've got tightness in your hips, try and relax those down as well. This is the first position, so it doesn't have to be perfect at the start. By the end, you hope that it's a bit more relaxed and you've got a little bit more range of movement in your body overall. So the other thing to do, especially if you're sitting on a therapy bench or on a chair and not the only time you wouldn't really is on a perching stool, is make sure that you've got your hips at 90 degrees and your knees and your feet at 90 degrees like that. So perhaps if you're in a wheelchair that's tilted back slightly, bring yourself up so you're really sitting upright, that's engaging everything in your body, but make sure your bum's right back on your chair and make sure your weight's kind of able to go over your feet. So I stretch my hands down, I put my feet flat, my back is straight, my head is up, and I sit straight. I sit straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now all the way through the session, we're going to keep returning to this really nice position. So when you're trying to correct it again, bring it back to that feeling of really nice centered sitting up on your bum bones. Lovely. So what we'll do now is just get a little bit of oxygen pumping around our body. So we'll do some breaths. We do this at the beginning of every session, every activity we do, just to make sure that we've got lots of oxygen pumping around that can feed our muscles, feed our body, and help us to move as best we can, and feed our brain, of course, as well. So if you're able to lift your arms up as we breathe, then do. If you need to keep your hands down and just breathe and just do the breathing movements, that's absolutely fine as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to close our lips, breathe in through our nose and lift our arms up if we can. And then we're going to lean forward and breathe out and blow all that old air out of the bottom of your lungs. Okay, as deep a breath as you can, as long as breath as you can. So I close my lips, arms up, breathe in. And arms down, lean forward, breathe out. Close your lips, breathe in. Arms down, breathe out. Close your lips, breathe in. And arms down, breathe out. And this time, breathe in, but come back to the middle. And relax and breathe out. And as you saw then, my shoulders came down, all the tension. I tried to let everything relax and centre me a little bit before I carry on. So getting that nice sitting position straight again. And I sit straight. I sit straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great. So what we're going to do next is we're going to start focusing with our feet today and the movement in our ankles. So this is why it's a little bit more advanced than last time. Previous sessions, we've just done moving our toes on each foot. So this time we're also going to introduce lifting our heels up and then doing some alternating movements that use both sides of your body and both sides of your brain to get your body to coordinate some more complicated movements. I'm just going to come a little to the side to demonstrate the heel lift position because it's a bit hard to see from the front. So what we're doing first of all is we're going to go, I lift my right toe up and then I lift my right heel up like so. So when you're lifting your heel up, don't come over on your toes like this. Keep your toes in contact and just bring that heel up from there. So nothing here should move. Everything should stay really still and your heel should come up. Similarly, your heel should stay stuck down as if it's super glued down and your toes come up. So try not to lift your heel as you bring your toes up. And the other thing that is worth showing you from the front when you lift your heel is when you lift it onto those toes, try not to let your heel lob out to the side like that. Okay, so it loosen out to the side. It's hard because you have to really keep that tension and keep that position. Similarly, if it goes in that way, trying to keep it in line. One thing that's really helpful when you do these kind of movements is to have a mirror for your own feet because it can be difficult to correct and see that from above you. So just to be really aware of those sorts of little details, because this is an advanced movement, the little details become more important. So first of all, I lift my right toes up and down. my right heel up and down, right toes up and down, right heel up and down, right toes up and down, right heel up and down, and then the same with your left foot, okay? So left toes up and down, left heel up, don't let it come out, and down, left toes up and down, left heel up and down, left toes up and down, and left heel up and down. Okay, now we're going to use both feet, moving them at the same time. So we're doing it together this time. So both toes coming up and both toes coming down. Try, especially if you have one side that is perhaps a bit more weak than the other, really focus on trying to move your feet in the same way at the same time as one another, okay? So both toes up in the same height and down, both heels up and down, both toes up and down, both heels up and down, both toes up and down, both heels up and down. Really good. So now we're going to do the most complicated version, which really gets your brain thinking and really have to concentrate. If you need to pause this and come back to it or repeat it to get it right, take your time with it, because it does take a little bit of practice, but once you get into the rhythm of it, you should be okay. So the way we start this is we start it with your right toes up and your left heel up. So I'll just show you from the side. So right toes and left heel, like so. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to change them over. So we're going to swap, like a sort of seesaw movement, okay, with each foot, but in the opposite direction. So I change heel and toe. I change heel and toe. 1, 2, 3, and change. 1, 2, 3, change. 1, 2, 3, and change. 1, 2, 3, change. 1, 2, 3, change. 1, 2, 3, and then a little faster. Change. 1 and 2, change. 1 and 2, change. 1 and 2, and down. Well done. If you got that right, then well done, because that is a really, really tricky one. Like I said, if you need to go back, repeat it, slow it down a little bit, stop and start, absolutely fine. It is pretty tricky, but it's a really good one for making sure everything's working at the same time and together and in cooperation. It's a really good challenge, so well done. Okay, so what we're going to do now then is we're going to find that roll that you got. So like I say, if it's a bottle or if it's a rolling pin, whatever it is, a reasonable height is quite handy. So we're going to start with it, under our right foot. And the first thing we're going to do is obviously just put our foot up onto it. I'm just going to show you from the side. What you want to do is sort of put it underneath the sort of top of your foot. So just under your toes there, because when we roll forward, that gives us a stretch to roll all the way down to our heel and, and pull all the way back to your toes. So it goes all the way forward and all the way back. And as we do that, trying to keep tension in your foot. In fact, I might actually demonstrate it from the side so you can see it better there, because I think actually that's going to be easier for everyone. So starting as we do first, I sit straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I step up with my right foot. 1, 2, 3. In fact, maybe it should come just a further back. And then keeping a nice smooth movement as we roll forward. When I get to 3, you should be fully straight. And when I get back to 3, the count of 3, you should be fully bent. So we're going like this. I roll forward. I roll my foot forward. 1, 2, 3. And I roll it back. 1, 2, 3. I was a little bit off centre there, so I'm just going to correct myself. And I roll it forward. I roll it forward. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, there we go. And I roll it back. I roll it back. 1, 2, 3. And I roll it forward. 1, 2, 3. So I'm keeping my toes engaged, keeping them pulled up, keeping my heel bent. And I roll it back. I roll it back. 1, 2, 3. And then I step down. I step down. 1, 2, 3. And back into that nice sitting position. So we'll turn it over and go with the opposite side this time. So you might have noticed I had to fiddle around a little bit on that side to get myself in position. I think it's partly because I sat on the wrong side of a chair. But if that's the case, just change it between each go. Have a little adjustment if it doesn't feel right. You may need to bring yourself a little further forward on the chair so that it's not quite underneath your knee, so you've got a little bit more space. But so you're back up on your knee and your legs are free as well. And similarly, if you're in your wheelchair, you might need to move bits and bobs, move foot plates. And the other thing to remember is that the whole time I kept that sitting position and I didn't move the rest of my body. So I only moved the bit of my body that was working and obviously used my eyes and my head as well to look, but kept myself lifted up in between. So I step up with my left foot. I step up with my left foot. 1, 2, 3. And I roll it forward. I roll it forward. 1, 2, 3. And I roll it back. I roll it back. 1, 2, 3. I roll it forward. I roll it forward. 1, 2, 3. And I roll it back. I roll it back. 1, 2, 3. And last time I roll it forward. I roll it forward. 1, 2, 3. Keeping that knee in line the whole time with your hip. And I roll it back. I roll it back. 1, 2, 3. And I step back. I step back. 1, 2, 3. Lovely. Really good. Okay, so I'll come back to facing you again. So it's a little bit easier to demonstrate the next movement. So we've got 2 very quick movements to get through and then we'll be done. So let's really focus this time on our hips and our ankles. So this time you've got to imagine your feet are super glued to the floor. Don't let them move. This is about getting movement in your ankle to the side. So we've done quite a lot of moving this way, rolling forward and so on. Now we're really focusing on moving our ankles a little to the side. So you're super gluing your feet down. It's not a movement we use a great deal, but it's a really important movement in balance and standing and stepping and walking in particular, especially for transfers. If you use your feet and transfer, it's a really handy one to do. So all we're trying to do is bring our knees apart and then squeeze them together. But when we go apart, we're not going too wide and rolling our feet out. We're trying to keep your feet still and just push them out whilst keeping that weight through our feet. So it's not too big a movement, but it is a controlled movement, okay? So I take both knees apart. I take both knees apart. 1, 2, 3. And I squeeze both knees together. I squeeze both knees together. 1, 2, 3. I take both knees apart. 1, 2, 3. And both knees together. 1, 2, 3. See how my feet have stayed stock still there. I'm using the chair to support myself a little and I'm staying upright. One last time. I take both knees apart. 1, 2, 3. Keep those feet planted down, feet toes open. And both knees together. 1, 2, 3. And then I come back to the middle. 1, 2, 3. Lovely. So final task. Hopefully your brain's really worked quite hard with your legs today. I imagine it's quite engaging and quite tricky because they are more difficult tasks. So hopefully you're feeling a little bit challenged by them. So last thing we're going to do is we're going to knock up the side of our leg and bring our knee to our opposite, our heel to our opposite knee. Now, if you can get it all the way up there, great. It is really tricky for a lot of people to do that. So all we're going to do is knock up and knock down, okay? And we're not going to hold it there too long because, again, I think that's really tricky. When we do lift our knee like that, what is allowed is just bringing your hips ever so slightly, shoulders, ever so slightly back to give you a bit more room to lift your hip. If you stay really high, it's going to be really tricky to do that. So you can just tilt yourself ever so slightly back and bring your foot up towards your knee, but keep everything else controlled, everything straight. What you will need to do is shuffle a little. I think I've just demonstrated it, but shuffle a little more towards the edge of the chair. So you've got nothing under your knees now, a bit of space underneath you, and feet really planted on the floor to steady yourself so that you're using the leg you're not moving to really balance yourself. It's really good for your hip on both sides because you're using one to stabilize yourself and one to really control a big lift. Okay, so really good if you struggle with foot drop, if you struggle with lifting your knees as you walk and actually bending your knees as you walk. This is a great movement. So I knock up my leg 3 times with my right foot. I knock up my leg 3 times with my right foot. 1, 2, 3, and down. 1, 2, 3, and step down. And I knock up 3 times, knock 3 times. 1, 2, 3. If you can get as high as your knee, that's brilliant. And down. 1, 2, 3, and step back. And then I change legs. So I knock 3 times with my left foot. 3 times with my left foot. 1, 2, 3. Hold it there. Down. 1, 2, 3. As you're lifting, by the way, make sure you keep your knee out a little in line with your hip or wider. Don't pull it in as you bring it up. So knock 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And if you can keep that knee down a little as you come up, again, that would be great. And knock down 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And I step back. 1, 2, 3. And then just adjust your position. Feet flat, shoulders back, chin up, sitting nice and straight, just as we began, and we have done all the way through. And I sit straight, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Super, well done. Right, some really tricky tasks, as I said. I know I said moderate level, maybe these are actually advanced ones, but anyway, you've done really well if you've managed any of those tasks at all. Please remember, you can pick and choose different things from all of these activities we now have online. So if some of the earlier tasks work a little better for you, but 1 or 2 of these ones work as well, put them together, try and kind of mix them up a little bit. As long as you're following my instructions and doing it as I say, then that's brilliant. Similarly, a really good warm-up for today would have been to do the beginner level that we did the other week. So just try and kind of mix and match. It's a bit of a pick and mix now. There's lots of stuff out there that we've put forward for you. So you can kind of use whatever works best for you. And don't forget that any movement is better than no movement, and any participation in any activity is better than nothing. So even if you're not participating to the level I've shown, it really doesn't matter as long as you've joined in, made your body do something, told it what to do, moved it even the smallest amount. It's better than not moving at all. It's so much better for your physical health, so much better for your range of movement in your body, so much better for your mental health to get moving and be in control of your body as well. So well done. Thank you so much for joining us again for this session. Please like our videos, please share, please tell people who might really appreciate doing sessions like this about them. We'd love as many people as possible to benefit. And if you want to tell us how you are getting on with them, show us videos, anything like that, then that would be absolutely great. Thank you so much for joining us once again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.